Hello, Artie. Let the magic begin.
Hello. In preparation for this week's Family Fun, we have provided a template for you that you can download and have ready for Saturday. And I'm going to show you how to transfer that to another piece of paper. The way I do this is to tape my template to a window pane and then tape it. I'm just going to put a little piece of tape right here, and that's perfect. Just one piece is all you need. Now generally I do this with a pencil, but for today's purpose so that you can see it better, I'm going to use a Sharpie. And I'm going to put my paper here. I'm going to try to make sure that's in the middle of the page. And then I'm going to put a little piece of tape right here so that it doesn't move and I can reposition it. So I take my Sharpie or my pencil and I start just drawing around it. And I'm just tracing around it. Your window might be bigger than this one, but anyway. All right. So now you have there you're ready. Now you're ready to do Saturday's craft with us. And if you want to do 2 of these, that would be great because we're going to be doing one with watercolor and one with tissue paper. Hello.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
You're going to do a craft for us this morning?
We've actually have a coloring page and going to show you how to do a dove in 2 different ways.
Oh, wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful.
Yeah. So let me start by talking about our coloring page today. I developed this as a result of some of the things that have been going on. And we have, this one's a finished one. It says, "A rainbow of friends is a dream we can share, where everyone's treated with kindness and care." And so we have some children up here of all different races and colors. We have a rainbow and we have a dove to represent peace. So this is one that has been drawn out for you so that you can color your own. And this will be in the packet that we provide on the porch after this week, so after this activity. So that's our coloring sheet for the time being. Okay, and we'll set that aside. And then I want to show you, we're going to do doves of peace, all different colors. This one over here is one made with tissue paper, and this one over here is made with watercolor. So let me go through here and talk about how I got this together. Okay. First off, we've got a template for you. You can trace this by putting it up to a window, putting a piece of paper over it, or however you'd like to get it traced, but we've got a dove for you. Or you can draw your own if you want to, okay? So the first step and you do need a piece of larger paper, watercolor paper, although the dove will fit on a regular standard piece of typing paper or computer paper. But I'm using a larger piece of paper, and I've drawn the dove out just to help us get started, okay? I used a black permanent marker. Now the permanent marker is important because that way when we start doing watercolor in the next dove, it will not fade or wash into your dove, okay, when we add water. But the first one, like I said, we're gonna start with how do we do, and I guess I should turn it this way so you might be able to see it. You can either use Elmer's glue, like a school glue, or you can use a glue stick, okay? And then the other thing I've done is I've cut strips of tissue paper into little tiny pieces, okay? So I've done that. Now, if you choose to use the Elmer's glue and you don't want to get your fingers nasty or messy, you can use a Q-tip, okay? And all you would do is simply, let me get it going here, take a little wad of glue, and you can use your Q-tip and slide it around like this. Now I tried to stay in the lines, but not always am I successful. But anyway, and then you literally just take the tissue paper and lay your colors on. Very simple, and you continue to do this until everything is covered. So here's what it looks like as we start. And this glue works as well. You can see you just rub it on there and then put a little piece of paper. So it's just that simple. Make it every color you can imagine. And that's the first one, okay? Now, it's really important for when you're doing the watercolor that you do use a thicker paper. Piping paper is gonna wrinkle up and not be, turn out really well. But you start the same way as you started the other. You start with an outline, remember, in permanent marker. I used a Sharpie, okay, a black Sharpie. You can use any color, but you do want it to be permanent. All right, so this is you need a little bit of water. You can use any kind of paint, watercolor paint. And the first thing I did is literally, I used a big brush, and I'm gonna do that because it's fast, is I wanna get all this area wet. And so I'm doing this really fast, putting a lot of water on here. And you can see that I've gone round and around with the water. I try to stay in the lines. If you find that you're outside the lines, you can kind of scoop it up or take a paper towel and pick up some of the excess water. But you want to be able to see a shine inside of this dove. And I'm going to hold this up and hope it doesn't run much, but you can kind of see the shine. Okay, good. All right, so we've got water on here. Now, the fun part is putting the paint in. So I'm just gonna drop it, just wherever. Give me some paint and drop it in. I started with this pink. That's really all there is to it. And then I clean my brush in the water, dry it off, and then I get some clean water. Now I'm gonna start with the yellow. As you can see, you just put it in. Okay. All right. I'll get a little more here. There's some blue, as you can see. And the fun part about watercolor is the water, your paint's not gonna go outside of where your water is if you're careful, especially if you keep it flat, okay? So that's the key to keeping it from running all over the page, is to keep it flat. And then of course it's going to take a little bit of time for it to dry. You can choose as many different colors as you want. I'll put some green in there. Yeah, that looks good. And as you can see, you just kind of continue until it looks something like this. All right, so have fun. Make a beautiful dove, either way with paper or with watercolor. Both ways are fun.
Hi, my name is Angie Green. I'm the dance instructor at Burlington Academy of Dance and Arts, also known as BADA. This is Sandy Blocker. He's also one of the instructors at BADA. He's also an accompanist at Elon University. I also teach dance at Eastern Guilford High School. We were here today to offer a little bit of jazz dance. And I wanted to do jazz dance today in recognition of Juneteenth, because without the contributions of African Americans and African culture, dance in the United States would not be what it is today. So we did a little bit of jazz dance, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm going to do it one tempo, and we'll speed up a little bit more. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then over to the other side. Take it one more time, over. Take your right arm, pull it over, fan your arms. There you go. Over to the other side. There you go. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7.
to read, especially at one of my favorite places, Alamance Arts. So I thought if I get all dressed up and read to you guys, you'll see how much fun reading can be. So a great adventure for us today is going to be Fancy Nancy, Aspiring Artist by Jane O'Connor and Robin Price Glasser. But before we begin, on the count of 3, as loud as we can, let's say ooh la la. 1, 2, 3. Ooh la la! Sunday. It's spring vacation, so I should be ecstatic, joyous, carefree. Those are all fancy words for happy, but I'm not. My best friend Bree and her family just left for New York City, the glamour capital of the world. My mom knows I am a little blown, which is sad in a fancy way. So when she comes back from the grocery store, she has treats. A big box of crayons for my sister and a set of glitter markers for me. What a splendid parent my mom is. While I'm doodling with my new markers, inspiration strikes. That means I get a great idea. I will turn my clubhouse into an art studio and spend my vacation making gorgeous works of art. Besides some supplies, that's a fancy word for markers, paints, and paper, all you need in an art studio is an artist. I'm wearing a smock and a beret, that's French for cap. Don't you think my beret makes me look more talented? My sister can only scribble. Now, even though scribbling doesn't count as real art, I tell her how beautiful her pictures are. In the afternoon, I have dance class. All over the studio are posters of ballerinas by a French artist named Edgar Degas. While I'm pliing, suddenly inspiration strikes. I return to my art studio and draw beautiful ballerinas, just like Edgar Degas did. Do you notice who all the ballerinas look like? Monday. Today, I tell Mrs. Devine about my art studio. Her favorite artist is Claude Monet. She tells me he didn't like to work in a studio. He loved painting outdoors, even in the winter. He would wear 3 coats and a blanket to keep from freezing to death. Brrr. Suddenly inspiration strikes again. I would love to paint outdoors in your garden, just like Claude Monet. Tuesday, I invite my friend Lionel over today. He can act like such a real goofball, but he is the most talented artist in our class. His faces are so good. Nobody does noses like Lionel. Not to brag, but I am the second most talented. You can just ask anybody. Here is a portrait that Lionel drew of me. A portrait is a picture of someone's face. I don't really have a mustache or a goatee. That's fancy for a short beard. Then Lionel poses for me, but he keeps making crazy faces. Lionel is such a goofball. Wednesday. Ooh la la, a letter from Bree. I adore getting mail, don't you? Look what she did on the back of the envelope. She wrote S-W-A-K. That means sealed with a kiss. Here is the front of the card that Bree sent. She went to a world-famous museum where she saw this picture by Henri Matisse. He made it from pieces of colored paper that he cut out. Inspiration strikes once more. I get construction paper, glue, scissors, and voila! I make a picture like Henri Matisse did. Even though wings on real butterflies always match, mine have 2 different wings. Artists are allowed to break the rules. Thursday, even though I have been in the studio for hours, everything I draw today stinks. My mom comes in to tell me that Lionel's grandma called. She's taking him to a 3D movie and he wants you to come. At last, I can't go. I'm waiting for inspiration to strike. Nancy, it's wonderful to be dedicated. That means working really hard. My mom tells me, but take a break. It will get your creative juices flowing again. My mother knows I listen better when she uses fancy words. My mom was right. After I get home, my creative juices just start flowing. The movie was about really weird fish that live on the bottom of the ocean. Mine are imaginary. That means that I make them up. Friday, for a special treat, my dad is taking us to the art museum. Lionel comes too. On the way over, he pretends to be car sick. My dad starts to pull over, but I explain, Lionel is just being a goofball. At the museum, there is a real painting by Claude Monet. I wish I knew a fancy word for how it makes me feel. All I can say is that the colors make my eyes happy and my heart too. Lionel says he likes this painting. At first, I think he's kidding. It's just a big bunch of black dribs and blobs. But the harder I look, the more interesting it is. Some parts look lacy. One part is almost like a spider web. My dad really likes it too. My dad tells us he once saw a movie about the artist Jackson Pollock. He put the canvas on the floor and poured the paint straight on from the can. He also used paint sticks to make dribbles and all kinds of patterns. Inspiration strikes again. I turn to Lionel. We can make a big painting like Jackson Pollock. We'll do it tomorrow when Bree is back. Saturday, at last, Bree and I are reunited. That's fancy for being together again. I tell her it's officially Jackson Pollock Day. Not really, but doesn't it sound important? My parents spread out a sheet in the backyard and find leftover cans of house paint. We wear old clothes, put on hip-hop music and inspiration, and then, ooh la la, we make swirls and splatters. We drip and dibble, and our painting and dancing is all at the same time. Jackson Pollock was a very serious professional artist, but making a painting like this is silly and fun. Later, I show Bree all of my art from this week. She shows me her sketches from New York City. My mom tells Lionel to stop putting carrots up his nose. Then she says, you know what? You have so much art, you could have an art show. What a splendid idea. We hang all of our artwork on the clothesline. We make a sign for the front yard announcing the exhibit. Exhibit is a fancy word for show. It's Sunday. Our art exhibit is a smashing success. That's a fancy way to say everyone has a good time and tells us how talented we are. I give Mrs. Devine one of the paintings that I did in her garden. I tell her, I just can't believe how tired my hands are from all the art I made this week. Mrs. Devine says that she knows the perfect remedy for aching artist hands, a manicure. Now that concludes our adventure for today. But remember what Nancy says, the more you read, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the more you know. So read, read, read. I love you guys.
Today, Elizabeth is going to make chain paper dolls. So Elizabeth, can you show us would you like to learn how to make one? I want to learn. Can you show us how to make chain paper dolls?
Hi friends, I'm Miss Elizabeth, and have you seen on TV the slogan, "We're in this together"? I was thinking about our stay-at-home time and that we're away from our friends and our family, and I thought making a chain paper doll would be really fun. It's very easy. All you need is a piece of paper, and it can be any size. I did a big size so that you could see it, but any size paper will do. You need a little piece of cardboard, something to draw and color with, and some scissors. First thing we do is take our paper and we fold it the hot dog way. You know, you can fold your paper two ways. You can do it the hamburger way, but this time we're going to fold it the hot dog way. And just like that. Then we'll take the scissors and we'll cut the pieces apart. When we finish, we'll have two pieces of paper. I have a piece of paper now. We want to take our cardboard, and it should be about the width of the paper, like this. And I'm going to draw a little gingerbread boy on my cardboard. Now some people can draw a half of a person, but I find that that's sometimes tricky. So I make a gingerbread boy, and instead of cutting the whole thing out, I'm going to cut him in half. And I'll cut him all the way out, all the way to the end. And I have one already done over here. So it'll turn out like this way. So now I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it like an accordion. This is a little tricky, so I'm going to put my little gingerbread boy on here, and this is about how wide I'm going to fold the paper. So I'm just going to do it like that. You can see with the dark against it. Okay? Now, to make an accordion fold, this side's the paper's up, so now I'm going to fold it down, about the same width. Now I'm going to fold it. Did you see me flip the paper? And I'm folding it down, and I'll flip the paper, and I'll fold it up, and then I'll flip the paper and fold it down, and I'll flip the paper and flip it up. Now, this is the cool part. You need to take your little gingerbread boy, and you want to put his body, I'm going to show you in here, you want his body to be at the fold, because he would be take up 2 of these spaces. So we're gonna, on the fold, I'm gonna put his body, and I'm gonna put his head up at the top and his feet at the bottom. Now the trick to making these turn out is the body is right against the fold, and when you draw it, you draw all the way to the end. You don't cut the feet off, you just let them go right off the page. You let the arms go right off the page. And so you'll have half of a gingerbread boy. But the trick is, make sure that the arms and the legs run off the paper. Then you get some scissors. If it's too thick for you to cut, get your mom or somebody to cut your little guys out. Yeah, see, it's a little thick and it kind of crunches, but it's worth it. There we go. All the way around. And then you unfold it. Oops, this ends. I want to unfold. And we have a little gingerbread people. Now, since we're in this together and we've been isolated from or away from people that we enjoy being with, or we miss people, or we want to honor people, I want you to think before you draw on your gingerbread boys, do you want to honor the medical workers, or do you want the unsung heroes like the garbage men and the truck drivers and the mail carriers? Or do you want to think about people that you miss being with? Maybe your teacher, your librarian, your guidance counselor, your principal. Maybe your aunt and uncle and cousins. Maybe your grandparents. People that you miss. I miss my friends here at the Alamance Arts Council and our family fun. So I've already drawn my people, but I want you to see what I've done. And there's Mr. Carey, and there's Miss Ruby next. Can you tell that's me? See, it's my shirt. And there's Fancy Nancy. I miss these people, and I'm glad that we can still do arts and crafts together. I just want you to remember, we're in this together.
Thank you so much for teaching us how to make paper dolls. I love them. Don't you love them, Artie? And we'd like all of you to post your paper dolls on Facebook.
I'd love to see those.
Wouldn't that be great? Yes. So continue to follow us on Facebook, because we'll be doing lots of fun things. We'll be doing crafts and story time and dance. So we want you to join us. So keep following us and keep arts alive.